Thank you.
Good evening, members, and welcome to this Performance, Governance and Audit Committee meeting held on the 22nd of January 2026. My name is Councillor Wendy Stamp and I'm the chairperson of this committee. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are given your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference a page and paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. We do not have any fire alarm testing scheduled for today. However, we may have periodic fire alarms, and I remind members to ensure they sign in and out when entering the council offices. If you hear the fire alarm, please exit using either of the two marked fire escape routes. Once out of the building, please proceed to the designated muster point on the grass verge by the police station entrance. I'd like to welcome all the directors in person here today and the officers remotely attending, and also special welcome to Emma, who we know from the last meeting from KPMG. Welcome. Let's move on, members. Apologies for absence, Miss Bird, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies we received from Councillor Brown and Mr Smith, the independent person, and Councillor Morgan is attending as a substitute for Councillor Brown. Thank you.
Lovely. Moving on, members, agenda item 3. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of November 2025, found on pages 5 to 12, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nick Spencer. Members, do we agree, or have we got any points of accuracy? Agreed by assent?
Agreed.
Lovely, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4, that can be found on pages 13 to 14. To note, or does anybody have any questions? No? Well, let's move on. Agenda item 5, members. Declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests related to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Members, does anybody have any interests? No, Tara, no interests. Moving on, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6, public participation. I can advise, you can advise, Tara, have we had any public participation?
No, Chairman, no public participation tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, members, before we move to agenda item 7, I was notified prior to the meeting of some urgent business, and I've agreed, obviously because of the nature of the urgent business and the deadline dates that we have to adhere to, we're going to move agenda items 14 and 14A up to the agenda. So what we're going to do, members, I'm going to let Spencer do his presentation first, and he will then leave quietly, and then and then we're going to move on to Mr. J and Emma's any other business which is urgent. Members, do I have your approval for that? Thank you very much for your cooperation. So, Spencer, I did say I think you were supposed to be here in November to do this, but I think I've surprised you there because I don't think you did, but I'm sure you should have been here in November, but I'm sure it's well worth waiting for. So, members, agenda item 7, community safety partnership engagement and activities, and this is, if people don't know him, it's Spencer Clark. Right, over to you, Spencer.
Thank you, Chair. I've been asked to give an overview of some of the engagement work which we've been doing. So, as the Chair said, my name is Spencer Clark. I'm the Community Safety Partnership Manager at Maldon District and have been for 14 years, quite a while now. And I'm a shared role with Chelmsford City Council. If we just go on to the first slide, please, Tara. Just an overview of the Community Safety Partnership. So what is a community safety partnership? It's lots of different agencies who work together, but Maldon District provide the administration for that, and one of probably the key player in it, along with Essex Police and other services like fire, probation and health. Each year we agree priorities. I'm not going to go through those in detail because you've got them on the board in front of you. And the way we do that is we do what's called a strategic assessment. We're working on our strategic assessment at the moment, and that will be signed off by our responsible authorities group in March for this coming financial year. I would not think that, though, I wouldn't have thought those priorities will change too much. They've been very similar for the last few years. One thing that always comes up in Maldon is promoting road safety and challenging irresponsible driving. So I'm just going to say a few words about public engagement before we go on to the main slides. Not in too much detail, because I know in the performance pack each quarter we update on how many particular engagement events we've done. They do tend to vary. Some of it can be working out in the community, working in schools, working in colleges, doing things like slipper swap events, doing a public living room with the CVS, which is also really popular, and a lot of engagement around Prom Park and Riverside Park. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. What I'm going to go into detail about is some of the work we've done with some of our young people, and particularly some of the work we're doing around women's safety in the coming months. So if we could go on to the next slide, please. First project I'm going to talk about is Promenade Park project. This is with around the project we've been doing with the charity Make Space for Girls, and also improving some of our public safety. The good thing about most of these projects I'm going to talk about tonight is they've all been funded externally. So this is where we put bids in to people like the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner to get money for really important projects. So when we talk about this one here, you'll see that we've got £132,000, near enough, from the Police, Fire and Crime Commission to do this project. That includes a small fee for project management. So even the work that I'm doing around that, 15% of that is around project management. So this work involved doing consultation with the charity Make Space for Girls, but also some additional CCTV for the park, skate park lighting, a youth shelter, a bespoke asset, and I'll talk about that in a bit more detail, and a street art project. So Make Space for Girls, what is this all about, and where are we going here? So this is about trying to make our green spaces safer and more inclusive for girls and gender diverse young people. And the way we've done that is, not last year, the year before, we worked with the Plume Academy, and we worked with 16 Year 9 students. Year 9 are the best age group to work with. They've just found their voice, and they're not being detracted by GCSEs. So it's a really good age group to work with. Not only did we use this for Promenade Park, but we also used it as part of the work around the skate park procurement for West Maldon Community Centre, Riverside Park in Burnham and Promenade Park. And my colleague Melissa's also used it for the work around the Secret Garden. These types of projects are really gaining traction across Essex now. And one of the pleasing things is I've now been involved in a master planning project in Chelmsford for the East Chelmsford Garden community, where they've come to us years before the development. It's not even at planning permission stage, where they're looking at designing things for women and girls as one of their key objectives. And that's where we really want these projects to be. You'll see at the bottom of that as a link to the full report, A Place for Us. So that's by our consultant Social Place, who work with Make Space for Girls. And on that report, it will show you the 3 projects which we've done in Essex, 2 in Chelmsford and 1 in Maldon. So on to the next page. So what do we get from this? I mean, this is a really good, this is a good, nice, you see this nice design here. This is where young people get an opportunity to design something in their local community. So we do 6 sessions on different days with these young people. We talk about safety planning. We have a bit of fun. We make zines and things like that, so they can put their manifesto out as everything. But also one of the important things is we go for a walkabout. So we went for a walkabout on Prom Park, and the young ladies there really liked the existing shelter we've got near the quay there. So this is the concept design for what we've got for the skate park. Very, very similar. They liked it a lot. If we move on to the next slide, just to talk about the benefits of these projects. I put about improving our play provision. You'll go around a lot of parks and see parks are for under 12s. People don't instantly stop playing at 12, funnily enough. I mean, I'm 59, I don't stop playing at 59. If there's a swing in the park, I'll try and get on it. So, you know, it's important that young people are able to play, you know, beyond the age of 12. And the other key fact is, if we look at things like public health, and I've got my public health colleague next to me, things like going out into our green spaces improves our mental health, and it also tackles things like teenage obesity. So there's some added benefits for us. Community participation, having young people involved in the co-design of something is really, really important. It's a really good journey in terms of, you know, when you speak to these young people, how they mature over the time and how they gain confidence. And also gives a sense of ownership, which is really important when we're designing things for young people. I mean, what I always say, why should a 59-year-old bloke like me go and design something for teenagers? Let's let them design it themselves. I think that's the important thing we learn for that. And also when we looked at skateboarding. So if you look at the facts, most skate parks, I think something like about 84% are used by men and boys. So what we want to try and do is try and make our design more inclusive. So the designs at all 3 skate parks are for not just experienced skaters, but also for new and transitioning skaters, people who are just, you know, trying to build up. So particularly the one at West Maldon Community Centre, that's very much for new skaters, not too far away from Prom Park. So, you know, so we've used that, and we've worked with a lot of young people in designing that. And where we had the 106 funding for these projects, we're making better use of that, because what we're also doing is we'll be putting in lighting around these parks. So rather than them being just a spring and summer sort of event, we can use them all year round, you know, which is quite important. Speaking to young people, that's what they want. Improved feelings of safety, and I apologise for putting ECVYS on there, but Essex Council for Voluntary Youth Services seemed a bit long. So feelings of safety, young people like good lighting, young people like CCTV, not just from the consultation we've done locally, but also the EXVIS listening project, where they speak to a lot of young people every year. So things like that, that's coming back to us from, you know, so it's a bit of independent verification for us. One of the things that the young ladies said around Promenade Park was something simple like, we feel a little bit unsafe around the toilets. So we put toilets, CCTV cameras on the side of the toilets, and also to the entrances. Nothing inside, obviously, but it makes them feel safer. And also the vibrant art, which we've put in there, focusing on gender equality and local heritage. If you'd like to go on to that lovely picture now, Tara. So this is the works we've done in July this year. You'll see the main part that faces out to the skate park has got female skaters and female surfers on there. If you look in real detail on one of those skateboards, that's a little bit I've done. So I've done a bit of stenciling on there, so I actually got involved. And you've got the lovely Maldon landscape on the side there with the seals, who look absolutely great, I think. But you're also seeing that on the corner there, you'll see a CCTV camera. That's a new camera that's been installed. New type of technology, we call it tandem view. So usually with old cameras, you've got a camera that can move and it's looking one way or the other. If you just look at that little dark sort of slit on the top, that's a 180-degree fixed focus static camera. So you've got that view of the skate park all the time, but also the flexibility to move the camera. So that's a piece of artwork which we've done with the young people. If you go on to the next slide, please, Tara. As part of this project, so you see the two people behind, Scotty and Candy, in their high-vis stuff, but we also used each day on the Thursday and Friday. I think we worked with 46 students from the Plume. On the Friday, the leader was out with me, helping as well, which was really good. And we worked with these young people. So if you look at the landscape thing, which is incomplete behind them, we had 46 young people add to that landscape picture, which is really good. We could only do 10 at a time because of the risk assessment. So whilst 10 were doing the artwork, the other 10 sat down with myself and the leader and done some sketch designs for Promenade Park, lots of palm trees in the design as well. So we've got to get some palm trees at Prom Park is our next thing. So yeah, but that's a really, making sure that young people are involved in these projects and have ownership is really important. Say a little bit about the next project, which is Her Place, Burnham on Crouch. So this is jointly funded by the Rural England Prosperity Fund. Thank you, Leander, for helping me out on that one. And the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, and a small part from the Community Safety Partnership. So we actually paid for the consultation. Done a very different consultation here. We've done it all in one day. Again, working with Year 9 students from Ormiston Rivers Academy with Make Space for Girls and Social Place. We prepared a report. Report and consultation has gone to Burnham on Crouch Town Council. We met with some district councillors and county councillors and chairs only last week to discuss the design, and I think it was a very productive meeting, and making sure everyone's involved in these projects is really important. And again, this afternoon, Leander and Melissa and myself went for a walk in the beautiful countryside of Burnham on Crouch, and it wasn't cold at all. And we looked at some of the assets which we put in there and some ideas around the final design of that. So next steps, as I said earlier, if we can, these types of projects, if we can influence planning and design from the offset, that's really important, rather than trying to fix things later on. So making sure that these types of projects are in mind. Developing models for working with parish councils. So by doing sort of light touch consultations. We have have managed to get some active Essex funding to do a small amount to do some work with a parish council. So I'm in discussions with a parish council about that at the moment. The good things about that, if we can match fund things, you can, make that a little bit, get a bit more bang for your buck as such. Looking at reviewing our current play and sport offer to make sure it's gender inclusive, and making sure that community participation projects are the norm, so that we always involve our community in the design. I think that's really important. And it also embrace working with local schools and encourage the use of our green spaces. Wary of time now, so I'm just going to quickly run through our women's safety campaign we're looking at doing. So if we go on to the next slide, please, Tara. So again, this is funded by the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. There's quite a few women's safety projects, charters in Essex now. We started one in Chelmsford about just over 3.5 years ago, and a lot of areas are using the same format. This was funded partly by the PFCC and partly by the Maldon Community Safety Partnership. The idea is we get businesses and community groups to sign up to the charter and make pledges to improve women's safety and encourage active bystandership. And the way we do that is we're hoping to launch an event in spring where we'll have some bespoke training and the support for businesses. These businesses will get a project brand book, which we shared with the businesses. And we've also done a media campaign, which has been filmed on location, to provide nudge behaviour and to encourage active bystandership. You'll see on that next, that's us filming in the Oak House. We made sure we filmed in most locations in Maldon District. So what's the charter all about? When we speak to people, particularly women, they want more space, safe places and spaces, and they want to see a change in culture and behaviour. And the way we can do that is by calling out unwanted behaviour and bad behaviours and highlighting on criticised and celebrated behaviour. The way we do this, tone of voice is very, very important. We have to avoid the audience feeling judged, defensive or attacked. So when I first looked at doing these projects, because we launched the Chelmsford one about 3.5 years ago now, we looked at all of the safety campaigns around the country. There's a particularly hard-hitting one in Scotland. There's another one in Brighton. And we looked at the good parts of projects and the bad parts of projects. Nobody wants to be told what to do. So that's why we'll be saying this nudge behaviour is really important. Small changes can make big steps towards people's behaviour. So active bystandership, that's about challenging and calling out and disrupting unwanted behaviours. And we use the tactics of direct, delay, distract and delegate. And when you see the video, it gives you some really good examples of how you can do that. So you could go to a member of the door staff to say, this is unwanted behaviour. Or there's this brilliant video from the States where they call him Nacho Man, where there's an argument going on between a man and a woman, and he just stands in between it and eats his nachos, and it totally diffuses the situation. So simple little tactics can also make big steps. What we've designed is like a hero campaign supporting imagery, social media posts, posters, window stickers, and the whole end goal is to build a safer and stronger community in Maldon. If you go on the next one, you'll see some of our campaign imagery. First place we filmed was in our leisure centre down at Maldon Prom. Second place you'll recognise is Riverside Park, Burnham on Crouch, where we done a project around skateboarding. Third one there was brilliant because we used year 12 and 13 drama students from the Plume Academy to film a set on controlling behaviour. So that was really, so the work which we've done around the artwork and the Make Space for Girls gave the confidence for the school to get their drama students to be involved in this project. Then we had the Oak House, one at OC Leisure and one in Maldon Promenade Park. So we can give members a copy of that video. It's at sort of final draft stage now. So we're hoping to launch it on International Women's Day with a fair wind, which is the 5th of March. So it will be spring. So that's something we're looking to do. And then a little bit about the supporting campaign messaging. And, so it's sort of telling everyone they have a part to play in women's safety. It's about keeping women safe in our district, having positive cultural change. One thing I'm really, everywhere's different, so we in Chelmsford, we're very city centre centric with our project. What we're trying to do is this is going to be a district wide model for Maldon, because we also aware of hidden harms, things like, yacht clubs, that behaviour could happen there. I'm not saying it does, but things like leisure parks. I mean, the reason we filmed OC Leisure is our population can increase by 5,000 or 6,000 in the summer months, and everywhere we have an entertainment area. So making sure, and all of those places where we filmed, they're all going to sign up to it. Really positive response from all of them. And doing the work around active bystandership, making sure that women feel safer in our community and getting people to play their part by being active bystanders. And hopefully I've kept to my 15 minutes, Chair. And I'll pause if there's any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Enjoyed that very, very much. And congratulations, you did do the presentation in Burnham, and we were over the moon with the suggestions that was made. It was a lovely team effort, and what you're proposing to take there, I think is amazing. So well done, and thank you actually for thinking outside of Maldon. Members, do we have any questions? Any observations? Anything you want to raise regarding safety issues? Councillor Pratt.
May I?
Yes.
Spencer, great presentation, thank you. Full of great ideas. The little shelter, when you install it, will that be lit as well? Or you're talking about the surrounding area, but what we found in Burnham is when we put the shelters up, the biggest problem was teenagers apparently like lit spaces, and the shelters, when we initially put them up, didn't have lights inside them. They actually need to be lit inside, not just on the outside. Is that the case?
We're certainly going to look at forms of lighting in any shelters we put in anywhere, I think. Other things which has also been brought up by young people is phone charging facilities. So whether that's done via solar panels or some other means, making sure, the young people want lit areas, they feel safer in lit areas. It doesn't have to be the industrial type of light. When you saw the sketches they done at Maldon Prom, there was fairy lights and everything, so let's let the young people decide, but making sure that they're well lit, and we I think we just need to, young people need to play. Some people might see it as antisocial behaviour, but young people need freedom to play, and if it's an area which isn't near a residential premises, I think we should embrace that. So lighting those areas, I think, is very important.
And also CCTV, wasn't it? We did speak about that again because that's not been done. Councillor Siddle Norman.
25 years ago, we had a similar situation on the Riverside Park, and I personally actually spoke to 70 young people on Friday night for four Fridays, and the thing that came out most was they wanted lighting, and also they wanted tables to sit at so that they could actually sit and play cards and things like that. Now the thing is, these shelters are lovely, but they don't give the opportunity for them to have a table. I think this is quite important actually, because young people can't go in pubs, and that's what people do, other people do in pubs. I assume obviously that there isn't the facility to put tables there, but certainly the lighting is well needed. Thank you.
In Riverside Park, Councillor Siddle Norman, there is a seating area at the top. So this project, do you want to say it? Because it's your baby. I do know it, but if you say it. Sorry.
We went to the said seating area
Yeah.
today. So yeah, I mean, one of the designs we put in, and I can happily circulate this at Central Park in Chelmsford, was sun lounges. Really bright sun lounges. We let the young people choose the colour of them with tables next to them. And one of the things that Burnham students said, they'd really like some nice funky chairs where they can sit and look out to the estuary. So that's the idea we were talking about today, perhaps some of those sun lounges put out there. So probably don't need all of those shelters, but if we can put a bit of everything there for the young people. The other thing that's come up was a lot of the young ladies like roller skating. So that's another thing which come out of the,
Yeah, so they're looking at roller skating as well, because that was brought up, especially teenagers, young teenagers, they like roller skating. But also what you haven't included, which is really good, was the whole area, what they're going to look at, is the tables, the seated tables, the young people want them painted bright colours. So they're looking at doing that. I presume you looked at that today, Leander, when you went, was it about that area? And also some really good planting. And we thought about the officer that works at Maldon, who could maybe do some informational talks or whatever to try and include the youngsters or the young people when it's going to be done. But the picture they showed us when we looked at it was really good. And those sun loungers were amazing. They're not like the ones you have in your back garden. These are huge. They're like the big promotional ones, but really brightly coloured. You don't just get one person on them. You know what girls and people are like. They all like to sit together and they like to huddle and everything. And they were lovely. So hopefully if it gets the go-ahead in Burnham, it should go to somewhere like Heybridge or other places where they haven't got very little. So, yeah, that's lovely. Councillor Burwood, Simon.
Thank you. We are looking at doing something in Heybridge at the moment, and talking with our Tea and Toast group, one of the things they specifically mentioned was, and I know we want to get the kids out and about, is access to Wi-Fi. So we're looking at making it close enough to Plantation Hall that they can still access the Wi-Fi. But yes, will play games, but they still want the security of being able to have that instant access to whatever security they feel they need.
Yeah. Spencer?
that's I don't know if you can see that, the images are the ones we put into Central Park. And as the chair said, having the landscaping around that, and Tara can put this in a link for members so they can see it, but the whole design and concept of it, having that Wi-Fi important, having somewhere to download, to charge their phones, really important to young people. So we're going to try and take most of those on board in the sort of final design, but we'll work with local members and local community members to make sure that everyone's happy with it before we come up with a final design.
And finally, is there going to be Wi-Fi at Burnham? It wasn't mentioned at Riverside. I know it's happening in the prom, but it actually wasn't mentioned. So really it should be a standard, I think, going forward for everywhere. So if the prom gets it, Burnham will get it, Heybridge, whoever follows that should get that. So to me it should be a basic standard, not an additional extra, if that could be.
Out of my scope, Chair, but I'll certainly make inquiries.
If you can make inquiries, and if you get any trouble, bring it back to this committee. Okay, no, thank you. Thank you for your time. Any more questions, members? No, thank you. Excellent. So we'll give you a moment to go to leave quietly. Leave quietly. Okay, members. So as I said at the beginning, agenda item 14, which would be any other business, we're now going to move it forward. I've had your approval that we can do that. So moving on to agenda item 14A, the urgent business, which is the draft audit findings, as it says on the agenda item, ISA 260/24/25, found in the supplementary pack. And members, this is going to sort of take the confusion out of the numbers, if you notice, but if I say refer to the supplementary pack for pages 3 to 64, all right, so then it doesn't confuse the rest of the agenda when I say moving back the page numbers. So I'm going to hand over to Ben. Would you like to take this, or yep, are you okay?
If I introduce it, thank you, Chair, and
Yeah,
then
I'll do
hand
the
across.
recommendation. That's right.
Hand across to Emma, yeah. So just briefly, an urgent item. The reason for the urgency is really around the dates which are flagged at the head of the report, the purpose of the report. So obviously we are currently 22nd of January. The next meeting of this committee is the 12th of March. We're looking at the 27th of February as being the backstop date for the sign-off of the audit opinion and the final version of the accounts for 24/25. So in order to ensure that we can get all of that to move smoothly through from this meeting to the meeting on the 12th, we need the permission, which is requested in the recommendations at 3, so that the delegation is made so that I can work through the remaining changes, working in consultation with the chair of the committee to ensure that that's all achieved. Of course, and I'm going to say this because then hopefully nothing untoward will happen. If there is anything significant that comes through in that process, it won't simply be a process of sticking to the recommendation and signing it off. We will refer back to the committee as appropriate. However, based on the work that has already been done and the work that I've done with Emma and KPMG to make sure that we've got to this point effectively, I'm comfortable that it's very unlikely there'll be anything like that. So this should be just a very straightforward process. In terms of the cover note that you've got, there's a very quick summary at 4.1 of a number of different headings, all of which are pretty much all of which we're saying that there's no issues or only minor issues. I can put it this way: Emma and KPMG are constrained because they need to use particular forms of words, and there's a way in which they work this through, and I'll hand across to Emma to go through that in a second. But basically, this is really good news. We are one of, I believe, 3 councils like this in Essex at the moment, so we are ahead of lots of other councils in terms of the progress made, particularly on 24/25. We want to keep up that process, and I'm hoping that we'll make good progress over the next 12 months, and we will get to the best possible audit outcome as we get through the audit of the 25/26 account. So all of it is very positive. I can't really follow what Spencer's just done. He's done a much better presentation than me, but I'm hopefully keeping that kind of positivity going, even though I'm an accountant. At which point, I'll pass across to Emma from KPMG, who can take you through some of the detail and the purpose of the ISA 260 and the audit finding reports and the draft wording for the letter of representation. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you. Emma?
Thank you. And I'm an auditor, so that's even getting one worse than an accountant. So yes, thank you for taking this paper today. This is building on the paper that came to the last audit committee, which gave you sort of the status to where we'd got to. And I'm pleased to say there's not a huge amount of new information in this document, but it is essentially concluding the audit. I thought what I would just start on, given that we have presented a lot of the detailed findings previously, is just to give you a bit of update around sort of the backstop and rebuild and assurance, because I suspect that's a key thought on all of your minds. So where we've got to, I think the committee will know that the last couple of years we've had disclaimed audit opinions, and the goal is to move away from those disclaimed audit opinions and get back to full assurance over a number of years. What we I think is really pleasing that we've been able to do in Maldon for this year, and this year was a really important year to make sure we could do as much of the audit as possible on the closing position. And essentially, we have been able to do all of the closing position this year. So that's a really excellent place to come from, particularly last year where we didn't do any work at all. So to be able to get to that place, it is really, really commendable of the finance team. What that means is we can now start to rebuild assurance. We've already commenced that process, so we've done a lot of work and what we've sort of our initial risk assessment to work out where we need to do some more detailed testing. There isn't too many areas actually, because of some of the, you're not a particularly complicated organisation. You haven't done anything weird or wonderful, so that is makes that an easier process. So over the next couple of months, we will conclude that work and we'll hopefully report back for the April committee the findings of that build back process. What I will just quickly mention is that as this report is currently written, it is on the basis that there will be a fully disclaimed audit opinion again this year. However, there has been some new guidance issued just before Christmas from the NAO, which is just enabling us to have a different view potentially on that full disclaimer position. So I'm currently working through that with my technical team to see whether for Maldon it would be possible to move away from a disclaimer for this year through to a qualification. Now, that isn't at all something that I can say to you today will be the position. I need to go through that consultation, but that is a real positive indication of actually that I'm even at the position where I can consider that, because that is a very small handful of organisations where we'll be looking to do that. So I'm hoping that we might get to in February a sort of improved position, but I'll let the committee know through Ben where we get to and into March. So if I just now quickly touch on the key audit findings, because this will just give the committee the assurance in terms of that delegated authority to approve the final account. So on page 6 of my document, or page 12 of the supplementary pack, this sort of summarises our key audit findings. So as we reported at the last audit committee, we've got a number of significant risk areas that we look at. So the first one being around the valuation of land and buildings. We've challenged the management expert there, looked at the assumptions, done some testing of data. We did find a few adjustments, which sort of areas which have all been, difference in valuation approach. They have all been adjusted by management and will be updated in that final set of accounts. The work over management override of controls, and the key sort of test that we do around here is looking at journals, so making sure that journals have been posted appropriately and there has been no manipulation of any of the figures. We haven't found any concerns over any of that testing, although we have raised one control deficiency, which we see on most sort of audits, really just around some of the documentation of the journal control. And then the valuation of sort of the pension liability, we've concluded all the work in that area and we are comfortable with that figure, which is disclosed in the accounts. You'll note there that there is a prior period restatement which is going to come through into the final set of accounts. This was identified by management, so not by us as the audit team, and is actually just around the disclosure of the cash and short-term investments. Essentially, you'd got a short-term investment disclosed last year when it should sit in the cash and cash equivalents figure. So that will be processed through, is only a disclosure adjustment. We had a couple of other disclosure adjustments that management again have processed through, which around some of the bandings of salary and some of the sort of other sort of presentational aspects. And we did also identify there's a new note this year around IFRS 16, and we did just note an adjustment in terms of some of the presentation of that lease liability. So again, management have accepted all of those recommendations and adjustments and are processing them all through into the final set of accounts. I will then just jump through to page 19, just to remind the committee that the other aspect of the work that we deliver is value for money. We presented our draft annual audit report to a previous committee. Nothing has changed since that report, so we will just finalise that as part of the signing of the audit opinion. But just a reminder, because it's nice and green, no significant risks identified and no significant weaknesses. So a really good position to come out to there on all three domains that we look at for value for money. And then just in terms of the appendices, our audit fees are noted on page 28 of the document, or page 22 of my document. There have been a number of additional fees around some of that work we've noted there, on the valuation, and also IFRS 16, etc., which we are in the process of agreeing with Ben, and we'll get those. They have to be subject to PSAA approval. The 50,000 that you see there is for the build back assurance work. I'm just sort of putting that there as for transparency of that first stage. We have completed a lot of that work already, and again, that is subject to PSAA approval. And my understanding is there is being a grant to essentially fund some of that build back assurance work as well. And then just lastly, just to conclude, the confirmation of our independence is set out on pages 23 and 24 of my document. And then we have got the details of the audit misstatements and control deficiencies, but as they've all come to committee before, I was just going to take those as read. So happy to have any questions.
Okay, members, before I come to Councillor Spenceley, can I just say, I could have got an old document, I'm hoping it's not. Have you put in here, it's the Burnham Gold Club rather than the Burnham Golf Club?
Oh, it might have missed that goal.
Would you be able to just check that for the, because it's important that we make everything accurate, because you scrutinise us, so we scrutinise you. Okay, thank you. I didn't see any more mistakes, but if anybody else does, just highlight it so we can have a perfect report. Councillor Spenceley, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, congratulations to Ben and his team for moving us forward in such a way. And thank you, Emma, for fully acknowledging that in your report. So, and also, it's very tantalising that there might be some wiggle room. So we await that with bated breath. But so if we're on this journey to the sunlit uplands of full assurance, I guess what I'd like to know is what sort of milestones you'd want to see for us to get there.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, I am quite comfortable that next year we will be able to conclude all of our build back assurance work. One of the key bits that we've discussed already with Ben is around the valuation of the property portfolio. So at the moment, the property portfolio is annualled on a sort of a fifth essentially each year, and therefore the quicker you can get that full valuation completed, the quicker we can get full comfort over that balance, and that takes you away from sort of saying, well, we're comfortable with everything bar the PPE valuation of or part of it. So my understanding is management is looking at exploring whether that full valuation can happen next year, and that will be a significant step. So that's probably the biggest challenge. I think otherwise, I think where we've seen challenges with some of the build back is around the retention of knowledge within an organisation. So where you've seen organisations or councils where there's been quite a lot of churn, that can make the build back quite hard. Clearly there's been a little bit of change at Maldon, but I get the sense we've still got a decent amount of that sort of retained knowledge across the organisation. So I'm not expecting that to be a difficulty. So I think what I'm hoping to be able to report to you in April is this is the outcome of our risk assessment, and these are the few extra little bits of substantive testing we have to conclude.
Thank you. Ben, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on those points, absolutely, as Emma says, we are working with the Valuation Office Agency and looking at, rather than doing the rolling process, which it tends to be most authorities, either you do all of your assets across 3 years or you do all of your assets across 5 years in terms of updating all those valuations. We'll be looking to do 100% of the assets for 25-26, given the background with the disclaimed opinions. It just makes sense to do that, and it will help us to move forward, as Emma's highlighted. The knowledge retention point, I think it's well made. Shortly, Tom Malloy, who's seen through an awful lot of this work and has been great to work with, he's going to be moving on, unfortunately. He's an interim and will be staying an interim, but we have Victoria, who's going to be joining us at the beginning of March. The good news about all of this is that we always knew that was going to happen, and something I've worked really hard at with Tom is to make sure that we are embedding knowledge and sharing working papers and process notes, etc. all of which is desperately boring. But as some of the councillors already know, I quite like boring, and a lot of this is about doing boring well. So hopefully that transition, that handover from Tom to Victoria will go well. In the meantime, Simon Walker, who some of you might know, who's been in the authority for a long time, he himself holds an awful lot of experience and knowledge. And Charla, who has been doing the technical work, she's actually worked incredibly hard bringing forward, I think, 4 years worth of accounts in the last 6 to 12 months. So she's got a lot of understanding about how we've been working, and she's been building up her own set of working papers so that as we move forward to the accounts for 25-26, I think we're well positioned to be able to meet with the kinds of challenges that Emma's just outlined. So we should be hitting those milestones squarely. That's my ambition at the moment.
Brilliant, well done. Any questions, members? Councillor Morgan, please.
Madam Chairman, just to say that it's a delight as ever to appear in your committee. I've done that over a number of years, and I have to say that early on my first appearances here, the audit situation left a lot to be desired. So the fact that here of my sort of infrequent appearances that get better to the state we are today, I think credit is due all round, and plaudits given. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any question? Councillor Pratt, how many hands did you want to put up there?
I wasn't sure which hand to lift. I'm not sure whether this is a question. I just need some explanation. Within the letter at the end of the report, we mention a £6 million investment, short-term investment. I couldn't find it elsewhere in the report. I just wondered what that 6 million was for.
Thank you.
That's the prior period adjustment on the cash. So that's just the disclosure. So essentially, last year on the balance sheet, you disclosed a short-term investment of 6 million. It should have been included within your cash and cash equivalents balance instead. So essentially, last year you had a 6 million investment line when it should have been nil, and your cash balance should have been increased by 6 million. So this year is correct, but last year it wasn't. So we are making an adjustment to the prior year to make that correct.
Of course you can.
My question is, what was the 6 million investment for?
Do you know?
Do we know?
Yeah, if I can.
Because it seems about quite a large chunk of money.
I think, if I may, the important point here isn't the 6 million. The important point here is that we simply classified it under the wrong heading. It hit the wrong accountancy code. We know exactly what it was for. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 2 elements. One was, I think, a Deutsche Bank piece, and the other was, I think it might have been the debt management office. But from time to time, we place money as part of the treasury management strategy with somebody from a selection of specified bodies externally. That's all that transaction was. That was to do with the in-year management of our cash flows. What happened when we got to the accounts? Something got put in the wrong cell on a spreadsheet. It's an admin error. I know with £6 million in there, there's a question that would logically come to mind, as it clearly has done. What were we doing with £6 million? I know where the £6 million are. I know what's going on with that, and we can evidence all of that should you wish to have that. The point here is it was just a misclassification, and it changes nothing in terms of the wider position for the accounts.
For which I am extremely grateful for the explanation. But, Chair, perhaps there is another question that needs to be answered in the future, because if we are moving those significant amount of monies to Deutsche Bank and else places, where is that scrutinised, or where is that actually come up on a report?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, let Ben answer. Yeah.
The challenge with treasury management is that we're often working on a day-by-day basis. So in order to make sure that we keep transparency and accountability throughout, full council, and it can only be full council, agrees to treasury management strategy and practices at the start of the year. So the February meeting, which we will shortly have, will again include the papers for the treasury management strategy for the coming year. We maintain those arrangements through the course of the year. I keep close oversight of it. I report back to committee at the midpoint of the year and provide a half-year update on the process through that, and we also provide an outturn at the end of the year around that. So the process is that we explain in advance and we don't do it just internally. We take advice from Link, who are a specialist and deal with lots and lots of different councils. They provide specialist advice, which helps us to make sure that we're doing the bit that we need to do appropriately. And they help us to do that in the appropriate way. They guide us through different options, and we make sure that we then follow that through and report back to it to councillors. So that hopefully provides the transparency which is needed. It's all part of Treasury management activity. If you'd like me to spend some time later on, perhaps outside of the meeting, explaining that in more detail.
Answered, I am content. Thank you very much.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much.
Mr Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to that, I think the one bit that the Director of Finance didn't say it was it goes through S&R committee. I think that might be where you haven't had sight of it. The Treasury management reports and budget reports get reported back through S&R committee, Councillor Pratt.
And I think you'll find they're on the agenda for next week. And I did notice some changes, so I actually started to look at them from previous years, and I will be looking at those because I do know there could be possibly some changes that I'd like to maybe have some questions for, and I'm also going to ask to attend that meeting with the chair of S&R because I did notice something. Right, thank you. Excellent question. Members, did you actually read Appendix 2? Did you note Appendix 2? Because we've never had this before, have we? Yeah, Emma.
You will have signed one.
But not like this. I don't remember seeing something like this. So I did raise it with Ben, and Ben said we had at the pre-agenda meeting, members, and everything was fine. We asked a few questions. But could you just explain to members, because I don't think we've had this come to this committee?
No, at all. So this what we would ask on for every single audit, regardless of sector. You always ask essentially for a representation letter, which is essentially asking for confirmation that management have provided the auditor with all of the information that we've asked for, and if there are any sort of significant judgments, or if you had any, I don't know, say you'd got some, I think there is some points around legal, costs or contingent liabilities, that you've essentially provided us with all of that information. So you're sort of asserting that position. So I always like to bring it to the audit committee because essentially you are authorising the accounts and also authorising Ben to say that he's comfortable, he's doing all of those things, and he has asserted that sort of confirmation back to us.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important that you did realise that, because I actually, when I read it, gave Ben a few questions on the fraud, because I saw fraud mentioned a few times, and I'm a bit funny about fraud, and he was very, very good at the pre-agenda meeting. But no, just so you all noticed that was slightly different, and there was an explanation on it. So, members, what I'm going to do is, anybody else got any questions? No, I'm going to move to the recommendations found on page 3 of the supplementary agenda pack. Little 1, that the committee reviews the audit draft findings report, the AFR, from KPMG Appendix 1 and the details of their audit findings for the financial statements of accounts for 2024 to 2025. And little 2, members, that the committee considers the draft letter and representation Appendix 2. And little 3, that the Director of Finance, Section 151 officer, is granted delegated powers to approve any remaining changes to the 2024-2025 accounts recommended by the auditor in consultation with the chairperson of this committee, in order that the accounts can be signed off by the backstop date, which is the 27th of February 2026. And little 4, that the committee receives the final signed version of the accounts for 2024-2025 at the meeting of the 12th of March 2026. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pratt. Members, can we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. You can go. Thank you ever so much for your time. It's been lovely to see you again. Thank you. Okay. On 9, haven't we now? It is 9. Moving on, members, to, correct me if I'm wrong, the corporate performance quarter 2 found on page 15. I think, is this you, Cheryl?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cheryl, if you'd like to do the report, and then I'll do the recommendations and questions. Thank you.
So this report covers quarter 2, so that's July to September 2025, and it's our performance against the corporate plan. As shown at the table in section 3.4 of the covering report, all 5 priorities are on track for delivery at the end of September. And then Appendix 1, which is found from page 17 of your agenda pack, gives the full breakdown and view of the data that sits behind this. Particularly the graph at page 18 shows the granular level, and at that granular level we can see that 1 out of the 57 specific indicators is marked at risk, and a further 3 are marked for closer monitoring. The detail behind that is then set out in the rest of the appendix for members' review and consideration.
Okay, is there anything you want to raise, Cheryl, no, you're quite happy with it before I go to members?
Broadly on track.
Okay. Members, does anybody have any questions? No, okay, well, there we go. Let's move on to the recommendations found on page 15. Little 1, that members review the information as set out in this report and Appendix 1 with priority focus given to the strategic priority level performance. Little 2, that members confirm they are assured through this review that corporate performance is being managed effectively. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Neal. Members, can we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Oh, well done. Let's move on. I know, it is. Let's move on to agenda item. I've got it as 9, but it is 9, is it? Because even though we've changed the order. Okay. Okay, well done, thank you. Agenda item 9. This is the review of corporate risk register quarter 2. Ms Hughes?
So this report also covers July to September 2025 and shows the corporate risk register. The senior leadership team regularly review and where possible manage risk, and this is your quarterly view which comes back to the committee. Point 3.2 to 3.6 of your covering report highlight changes that have been made in quarter 2. And then Appendix A, which is found from page 55 of your agenda pack, gives a detailed view of risks and the full risk register in order of severity score. It's presented for members' review and challenge.
Members, there are a few little bits here that could have some questions. Councillor Morgan, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Are we able to record whether the council is being sued by anybody for any particular damages? Is there a sort of record of how much, whether we are subsequently subject to any such proceedings?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't answer that, and I don't think we've got Emma here. So, not that I know of, but we can take that. Oh, hang on, Ben, please.
Sorry, just very briefly, I don't know Emma's point of view on this. What I do know is that occasionally that's a question that we're required to answer for the auditor, which, as it affects the disclosure in the accounts around contingent liabilities. So we do keep a record of that, and it's reported within the accounts. So that's one way in which it's done, but I don't know whether there is a separate register, and the monitoring officer probably has a closer handle on the current position on those things.
Okay. Councillor Thompson and then Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you. Page 52, item paragraph 3.5, about the risk of being unable to recruit and retain staff with specialist skills. It's good to see that the likelihood's gone down, but I don't quite understand why the impact has reduced. Surely the impact of not being able to do that remains pretty much the same, even if we're in a good position.
Ms Hughes, can you answer that?
Yeah, so changes in the leadership team have caused, I guess, a bit of a refocus on the risk register and review, and there's different classifications for the scores. So in terms of a score of 3, moderate impact, In terms of service provision, that's a medium-term delay, for example. So I think what's happened with all of these scores where they've been reduced is that the leadership team have taken a slightly different view in terms of the likelihood and the impact of what was scored before. Similarly, for likelihood, a score of 3 is that something was was likely, whereas a score of 4 is something would be very likely. So again, it's just the nuance of how the leadership team feel the score should be reflected.
Okay, so can I ask a question? Was that agreed at SLT, Chief Exec? So is that a corporate decision to change how the scoring has gone forward? I've asked Doug that. Cheryl, you're all right.
Thank you, Chair. So what we did at the senior leadership team was we got the definitions of the scoring so that we were absolutely clear and didn't want to overscore, because there can be a tendency to overscore risks. So we reviewed them all with a fresh pair of eyes, with the criteria in front of us, had a discussion and agreed on these outcomes.
So was the directors who did this then, or
Yes.
the team, and they're taking responsibility
Yes.
of this? So if anything goes wrong, the responsibility is them,
Absolutely.
because they have changed the scoring then.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Is that all right? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Spenceley.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this won't be a surprise to officers because I did raise it at the agenda meeting, but I thought I'd float it here. Page 58, risk 4. Damage caused to the council's reputation associated with delays to planned infrastructure delivery. Sort of with mitigation, that's been downgraded to a score of 9. But the point I made at the pre-meeting was that it doesn't feel like that on the ground. And our discussions at a number of recent planning meetings have very much focused on the fact that, there's a formula for infrastructure contributions. We've got a spreadsheet where we're monitoring them. But I think, certainly I feel as a member, that the council's reputation is perhaps not as rock solid as that might, not as safe perhaps as that suggests in terms of the public perception of the state of our roads, schools, medical facilities, etc. So I just thought I'd put it out there. But it is a judgment call, of course.
Mr Jaggard, would you like to comment on that? I don't know if you was part of when they changed the scoring and you're happy with it, but we'd appreciate your comments, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson.
It's fine.
I think there's probably 2 different things here. One is, or maybe 3. One is, if there's an existing deficit in infrastructure, the planning system can only deal with the mitigation of the additional pressure, not if there's an existing backlog. Unfortunately, that's the way the planning system works. I think the other thing, and then reflect on recent conversations at various planning committees, there is a conversation which we've had about the impact on new development and piecemeal development, not delivering the infrastructure in the timely way that you'd want because it's piecemeal, not comprehensive. I think this risk is actually about whether we sit on funds and we're not able to spend them, and that's where the council's reputation, as opposed to the reputation of Essex County Council, whether it's highways, for instance, or education. So it's about whether we're sitting on funds and able to spend them, and are we collecting them for the right things, and that's where the update comes from.
I'm happy with
that. Thank you, Mr Jaggard. I think, I fully understand that. I think the health aspect with the unspent Section 106 health contributions is a bit of a case in point, but I accept that we have to deal with what we can try and mitigate and control. So thank you.
Okay. Members, Councillor Siddle-Norman, please.
Yes, it's page 58. Risk rating decreases. Well, it says in there about the not being able to get the planning officers. Do we Do we need any at the moment? Do we need some more at Maldon?
But planning officers.
Yeah.
Miss, do you want to turn your
Oh,
mic?
sorry.
Yeah. Mr. Jaggard, we've had this question before about planning officers, and the previous director had worked with, I can't remember who was it, it wasn't Essex County Council, the planning officers group or whatever they are, outside, and they were working closely with them. Do we still do that, or are we still okay with planning, or do we need some more team members?
Every planning team, there's an ebb and flow of people, and it's a very competitive market. We're working well. We recently managed to do a couple of elements of internal promotion where vacancies came up, very much trying to support and grow our own. But obviously sometimes we also look externally. But part of the process, and depending on what comes out of the final budget growth bids, there may be some other posts we're looking to recruit after that. And I would be quite keen to do a recruitment campaign ourselves, and I'm discussing that with our HR colleagues, so that we can take the lead and we can really sell the benefits of Maldon District and the benefits of working for Maldon District Council. And I think we're probably best placed to sell that story and convince people Maldon's a great place to come.
Okay, thank you. Are you happy with that, Councillor Still-Norman? Yes. Thank you. Anybody else, members? Councillor Morgan, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Again, top of page 57, failure to maintain a 5-year housing land supply. Rating 25, risk rating unchanged, and also looking to the right, control strength good. I mean, on the face of it, I'd be think that's slightly under challenge unless someone can convince me that.
Ever since I've been a member of this committee, which is a long time now, it's always been on there, and this question has been raised on numerous occasions, and the stock answer I get, I'll go to Mr. Jaggard in a moment, is, well, we are maintaining it. We are aware of the risk, and we're doing everything we can to mitigate it. Whether you agree with that or not is a different matter. Mr. Jaggard, would you like to come back on that one? It's a 5-year land supply, failing to maintain it.
Yes, and I think it's a bit of a question what the risk is here. Certainly when this was drafted, and this is at the position of the end of September, because this is Q2 monitoring, we were in a position where there was not the certainty and clarity about what the Council's 5-year land supply was. And as you'll see under the sort of post footnote within there, clearly what we've done since this meeting, since the end of Q2, we've worked very closely with both the Planning Policy Working Group and with the Strategic Housing Working Group, a new updated calculation, which is 4.1 years, and we'll bring that through Council for endorsement in due course. So we know where we are, and 4.1 years is a lot closer than 2.7. So I think it's going in the right direction, but the only way to get to that is granting planning permissions, and that's without unopening that can of worms. I think we are where we are at this moment in time.
Okay, thank you. Members, I think that's all the questions. I'm going to move to the recommendations found on page 51. The recommendations, little 1, are that members review the corporate risk register and appendix 1 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. Thank you. Little 2, that members review progress of the corporate risk mitigating actions appendix 2 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. Little 3, that members are assured through this review that corporate risk is being managed effectively. Little 4, that members challenge risk where the committee feels that the council's corporate goals may not be achieved. And 5, that the wording of risk 6 from failure to meet the affordable housing need be changed to and more accurately represent the corporate risk to the council. unable to secure sufficient and appropriately sized affordable housing to meet local need due to market conditions, development viability and reliance on external delivery partners from Q3 2025 to 2026. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes, I was just going to call you Jade. Councillor Hughes. Members, do we agree? By assent? Yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that. Thank you, Cheryl. Did you want to say anything else? Because I didn't come back to you, but because Mr. Jagad was saying it. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 10. This is the annual governance statement actions update. Ms. Hughes, this is found on pages 63 to 66. Do you want to present it?
Yeah, so in the 2024 to 2025 annual governance statement, we identified actions which were around governance best practice for the year. So this report is an update on how we're doing against those actions. Section 3.5 of your report provides a commentary and status for each action. Of the 6 that were identified, 2 have already been reported as complete to this committee and they're shown in grey boxes. But there's now a further action, which is the Transforming Together programme using LGA decision-making accountability, which is now additionally marked as complete for this reporting period. For the open actions, commentary is provided to show progress around these, and the information is provided to the committee for comment and by way of an update on progress.
Okay. Members, do we have any questions? No, I'm going to move to the recommendation. It's a quick one this time, that the committee reviews the annual governance statements table and updates below the comments where necessary. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Neil. Members, do we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you, members. Agenda item 11. This is, hang on, bear with me. The health and safety update. Thank you. The health and safety update, Q2, 2025-2026. Obviously, this is the update for the health and safety statistics. And who's going to present it? Is it Sue or is it Mr. Baccarini?
I'm happy to, Chair.
Hang on a second, I just asked Sue first. Is it all right? Sue, would you like to, or shall I give way to Mr. Baccarini? You go first, Sue, and then I'll bring you in, Mr. Baccarini.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to introduce the report in terms of, yes, this is an update from Q2, and Mr. Baccarini will go through the detail with you.
Thank you.
But I'd just like to bring members' attention in particular to the part of the report which is related to unacceptable behaviour. So as members will see from the report, there have been a number or continuing number of incidents. The number of incidents in Q2 hasn't significantly increased, but the level of severity has. So during this time, we have received a number of very serious threats, both in person and by telephone. So I just want to draw members' attention to that and just to give some reassurance that we continue to follow our policy in respect of unacceptable behaviour. First and foremost, there is support for our staff that are affected. We have got mitigations in place to manage staff safety, and where necessary, we do involve the police, and these matters are reported to the police. And we've recently introduced some changes to the way in which we record and enable staff to report these incidents to us to make it as easy as possible. So I just thought that was really important, members, because we have seen an uptick in the severity of the sort of threats to our staff, and just wanted to provide some reassurance to members that we are supporting staff, managing that, and just for members to be aware of some of the issues that our customer services staff and other staff do have to deal with. Thank you, members, and I'll pass you over to Mr. Baccarini.
Mr. Baccarini, please. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Green. Yes, I do fear that I will repeat what has just been said, but I'll just go over quickly what I pre-prepared for my sort of text on this subject. And so I present, obviously, to you the period, the health and safety update for Q2, period 1st of July to the 30th of September. In this particular report, I point out to members that sections 3.1.1 and 3.1.2, page 67 and page 68, now have new data tables that provide a more summarised overview of health and safety events and health and safety issues that have been reported over the period. Of these, it is noted that there were a high number of accidents and incidents involving members of the public, and this was attributed to the busy summer period in our parks and open spaces, but also as a result of events and activities run by the council. Many of these are of a minor nature and often related to outdoor activities being undertaken, or to people with existing conditions who simply approached our first aid trained staff. Of particular note are the reports of unacceptable behaviour, as previously been mentioned. The table is section 3.1.2, now provides information on the numbers and severity of the reports received in the period. It highlights that council officers continue to experience unacceptable behaviour via a number of different means. We continue to support staff reactively in light of these unacceptable behaviour events, but are looking at further measures to improve our proactive approach. A new reporting tool is now in use across the authority, which allows for quick capture reports. This was implemented after inviting feedback from staff. It aims to improve our collection of low-level unacceptable behaviour incidents, which have previously been unreported. These can have a significant impact on the level of workplace stress over time. I'm happy to take any questions on the report, both now and outside of the session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beccarini, and thank you, Ms. Green. It's not acceptable. I hope if anybody's watching this at home who does think it's okay to abuse our staff, it is not. And I'm really pleased that you have raised it, and you've also explained as a council what steps you are taking to ensure the safety of our staff. They're employed to work here, and they shouldn't feel threatened. They certainly shouldn't get abused. We know everybody gets frustrated at times, but there's no need to take it out on any member of staff, whether it be in person or on the telephone. So, and also, I'm glad, Mr. Beccarini, you highlighted the number of health and safety issues had gone up, because I'm sure I read a headline in the paper or on Facebook, Maldon Council's health and safety or accidents have gone up. But you've just turned around and said that's because of an increase in numbers. So hopefully when somebody's reporting on the district council, they could maybe check their facts before putting a headline grabber out that says that our health and safety issues have risen somewhat. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but I certainly did, and I'm very pleased that you've raised it. So on that, members, I'll open it up. Are there any questions, or shall I move to the recommendations? Councillor Bassinger, please, and then Councillor Pratt.
Thank you. Just at the beginning of the report, it was mentioned that there was some very serious incidents. I mean, only a few, but they were very serious. I was just wondering, is it a particular issue that is creating these serious incidents, or is it just generally they're random serious incidents? I mean, I was just wondering, is it a local problem? Is it something that actually highlights this?
Yes, so with regards to that particular question, was that for health and safety accidents and incidents, or was that unacceptable behaviour?
I'm sorry, that was unacceptable behaviour.
From my knowledge of the incidents that are submitted to detail, there is no sort of particular theme. I know there are, I don't want to speak out of turn, but we do get people in very difficult situations. I know that some individuals in our community suffer from mental health issues, and often the council is one of the sort of last ports of call they go for help. So our staff do get the brunt of a sort of a mixture of people with different needs. That can be an element, but there really isn't any sort of key themes that I can pick out.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just going to ask Miss Green if you've got anything to add on that.
Thank you, Chair. I think there certainly is a difference between people that come to us that are concerned, frustrated. What we've seen in the last quarter is, in particular, really unacceptable, where staff are receiving very direct threats of violence, to a point where we have involved the police on a number of occasions. So that is absolutely unacceptable, and that is not triggered by any particular circumstances. This is purely and simply those members of public that are choosing to be abusive to our staff.
Okay, so I don't think there is a pattern, Councillor Bassinger, which is what you're asking for. Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. On page 76, there is a mention of a blind spot for pedestrians crossing. I'm a frequent visitor to the Prom Park, and I can't say that I know of a crossing area where there's new fencing, unless it's around where the new skate park is going in. But the on the third column, it says additional measures to be implemented to improve visibility. Has any action been taken since this report, sort of September time? Because I do feel on that right-hand bend where the mini golf is, pedestrians and cars really struggle on that corner with that fencing. It's all Harris fencing. There's a lot of work going on. People try to get to their cars, and I just wonder, is that the area? And if it's not, could we think about it? Thank you.
Ms Green first, and then Mr Baccarini, if you need some backup on that.
Thank you, Chair. My understanding is there have been some improvements made, but if that's okay, well, we can come back with confirmation specifically where the location is and what's been done in terms of mitigations.
Okay, so what I'll do is, will you be able to come back to all committee members to respond to Councillor Pratt's question, please? Okay, thank you. Councillor Spenceley, please.
Thank you. Page 77. Near the top, while closing a first floor window, the window pane and frame fell onto the footpath below. Now, that could have been lethal in some circumstances. And I remember maybe 18 months ago, a year ago, we had a paper from officers which wrapped together issues of site safety, security, fire control measures, etc., with building maintenance issues. And there was quite a big debate. And unfortunately, because these were all wrapped together, it kind of got knocked back. But there was a discussion about the future of this building, and some people were saying, well, basically the lights will all be switched off in 2 years. Let's just kind of mothball bits. It does concern me that we've got an infrastructure that's potentially quite dangerous. So I'd like to know where we are with issues like windows and the safety of the building.
Okay, I'm going to come in first, and then I'll be corrected by a director or whoever, a member of staff. I totally remember the meeting you're talking about, Councillor Spenceley, but another paper came back for urgent repairs to windows, and I thought a health and safety inspection had been carried out, and the staff had come back and said what needed to be done, and I think that was approved at council. But if any members want, not members, if any officers would like to say that I'm wrong, I'm more than happy to do that, but I'm sure that's exactly what happened. Okay, are you happy with that, Councillor Spenceley? Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Morgan, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just looking on page 75 of the UFest. Just because of this, obviously, is a event MDC puts on itself. Who actually is responsible? How is that for the health and safety of that particular event? How is that dealt with? And is it put out to outside resources, or is it done in-house?
Miss. Oh no, Matt, I can't remember your surname. Turner. Mr. Turner, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I am the officer that leads the UFest event. And this year we mobilised an event management team, so we had an event manager who was at director level, myself as a deputy event manager, and a full event team. And we have an event management plan, and health and safety is incorporated into that plan.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Morgan? Yep, okay. Yep, sure, it's in hand. Members, any further questions? No, I'm going to move on to the recommendations found on page 67. Recommendation little 1, that members consider the accident and incident statistics and incidences of unacceptable behaviour reported, and little 2, that members consider progress of the key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Maddie Thompson, please. Members, do we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 12, which is the There she is, she's sitting there patiently, agenda item 12 nearly at the bottom. This is the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds, found on pages 79 to 84. I will move over to Ms Gable.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. This is part of our regular update on the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Fund, so I'll save you the pain of me running through parts of the report from 3.1 to 3.5 and move to the pertinent bits. Of the available budget, which is £783,369, which consists of the allocation from UK Shared Prosperity Fund, Rural England Prosperity Fund and the Council's Match Fund, which was agreed at Council last year, £349,300.97 has been incurred as actual spend. This represents 44% of the funding that's been allocated. Updates on individual projects and their progression is contained within Appendix 1 of this report. On the 17th of December, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government issued notification to confirm UK SPF and REP for delivery can now continue to the 30th of September 2026. This is an extension of the spend eligibility deadline, which had been previously advised as the 31st of March 2026, and likely to have been requested by some authorities that have struggled to implement projects by the original deadline. All the projects Maldon District Council are delivering are on track and still proposed to complete by the original date. However, where it is prudent to do so and value for money or further benefits can be delivered, the end dates may be amended. These updates will be communicated via future Performance, Governance and Audit Committee reports. Thank you, Chair, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Members, any questions? I think it's going to be another well done, actually. Sticking to it, well done. Yeah. Very good. Okay, members, I'm going to move to the recommendation found on page 79, that the committee acknowledges the update provided on Maldon District Council's UK Shared and Rural England's Prosperity Fund allocations for 25-26 and continues to monitor the delivery. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Neil. Members, can we agree by assent? Agreed. Excellent, thank you. Okay, member, agenda item 13. This is the member training statistics. Is this you, Cheryl? Yes, Cheryl, would you like to present the report, please? And thank you for putting it so it's easy for people to understand, so you've made it bigger. I raised this at the thing. No, thank you, it's really important because if it's too small, some people can't see it and I, for one, can't see it. So please thank your team who did that. Thank you.
Thank you. So at the meeting of this committee on the 13th of November, as part of consideration of the corporate governance report, members resolved that at each meeting of this committee, you should receive an update on members who have completed training along with those that were outstanding. So the performance team have reviewed this request and provided this report for an overview on member training compliance. 3.3 of the report gives the statistics for Boxfish training courses, which are emailed as links to members, and section 3.4 for the e-learning modules, which initially emailed and then found on your Connect and Learn system. Additionally, members now all have direct access to an interactive report which gives monthly update on who has completed which training courses and what courses that you have outstanding. This can be found on the Member Reports app, which is on your MDC desktop, and that's highlighted in section 3.4 of this report. It's suggested as part of the recommendations that this report is then repeated 6 monthly and included with the balanced scorecard reporting, which is received by this committee, and that will be received alongside Q2 and Q4 reporting going forwards.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councillor Pratt, please.
I'm surprised how many members haven't completed it. And following the last time we reported on that, I went home with my tail between my legs and did about 10. And now I'm holier than thou because I've done them all. And I checked before I came here this evening just to make sure that I was up to date. And I was. So I don't know how we can force members, but I think the training is obviously important, but I have a deep-centred concern that I find that they seem a little bit
repetitive,
low. They're not very high. They're not. I mean, I feel that I could answer most of the questions without going through the course. And after I've spent 10, 15 minutes, I don't really come away with anything that I think, well, I never knew that. I'm so glad I did it. All I do is reassure myself, well, I knew that. You know, change your password. You know, those sort of level. Not saying that we all do it. Yes, I've probably got 10 apps all with the same password. And I've just done a course that says change every password every 25 seconds because you're going to get invaded from Russia. But my only concern is, are they detailed enough or are they high enough education-wise?
Thank you for your comments. That we have, and well done you. If I'd known, I'd have brought you a badge or a little rosette to say you're star pupil. Yeah, star pupil for PG&A. I see a different side of this. I see that the boxfish, they're easy, they're short. They're not easy, they're short, they're quick for people to do. We had a good conversation at the agenda meeting about this, and we have with Emma. The difference is, and Georgina Button is on this call, and Georgina, please, you can join in and speak up as you wish, because you put a very good argument forward. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but you put a very good argument forward at the pre-agenda meeting. And the fact is, when you're an officer, you're in paid employment. When you're a member, there's only certain things you have to do by law. And if you haven't done it by law, then I think Doug and I need to have a word with Emma, and we have a brief discussion about it, to remind members that they maybe wouldn't be allowed to sit on a committee if they haven't done what was required by law. But I really don't think you can make members sit down and do a 40-minute, unless it's the GDPR or something that pauses gives a great deal of concern to the organisation and puts us at risk. But that's a different point of view to what Councillor Pratt's just said. I'm going to go to Georgina because she actually put a very good different point of view to me. Georgina, would you like to come in, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just to say that we understand that everybody likes the bite-sized courses, and you know, and I agree with members in terms of sometimes the quiz and the content can seem a bit, you know, common sense, but that's really what they're there for, to actually question your common sense. So actually brilliant, well done that you're finding them easy, and actually that it makes sense to you, because we have had incidents where staff have been victims to very specific examples of the individual boxfish training, and it's because they had the training that it made them question their common sense. Because sometimes, you know, when you're shopping and a link pops up, you click on it, you don't think about it, and before you know it, you're in an unsafe environment and you haven't meant to do that. It's very, very easy to become a victim. So those quick bite-sized courses, as much as they might seem a bit, you know, to a degree a little bit patronising and a bit too easy, it is just to keep you thinking, you know, very sort of quick and relevant courses. The larger courses, some of them are more, you know, we need to make sure that everyone's doing them so we are compliant as an organisation, and that we reduce the risk. And there are different risks. There are reputational risks, and there is also keeping you as members safe, as well as we do keep our staff safe, to make sure that they are compliant in various things. So I think where the chair was referring to an example I gave was we have a course on DSE equipment to make sure that wherever you're working, in the office or remotely, that you're sitting in an appropriate environment, in a chair that supports your needs. You're looking at a screen that isn't giving you a bad eye condition. And that actually, as an employee or a member, you can come back to the authority and say, I haven't got the right working conditions. Can you give me some tools to help me support my needs? And we can make sure as an organisation that everybody is DSE compliant and that we are supporting the individual needs. You know, we understand that the course is clunky and can be a bit boring, and these things can take time. And you know, there are ways of speeding these things up. Sit with, you know, a buddy, go through it together to try and speed things up. You can actually speed up the speed of the course. So there is a way, members, to click on the speed if you want to get through certain sections quickly because you feel you're very confident in a particular area. So we can definitely show you how to do that. And it's making sure, obviously, that you do the quizzes at the end and get those certificates. But ultimately, it comes down to making sure that if somebody put a freedom of information request into the organisation and asked us how compliant we are as an organisation, that we can confidently say, absolutely, we know all our staff and our members are at least GDPR compliant. So just on that point specifically, Chair, there will be, that's the one course that we're going to focus on over the next few weeks. We're not expecting members to do everything at once. It is exhausting doing 10 courses all in one hit, understandably. So yeah, we're going to go for GDPR, put out a reminder, explain to members how many members are still yet to do it, and at least get us up to 100% for GDPR, because that's one of the very important ones. And then we'll pick another one and we'll go from there. So I think we just need to be a bit understanding and also recognise that some of the courses are more important than others. Some are absolutely you must do them, and some are more nice to do. So there are courses, for example, on climate action. You know, they are to make sure that you understand the importance of climate action and what we're doing as an authority and your role in that. But it doesn't put us at risk if you don't do it.
That's right. Thank you, because we did actually say, didn't we, about the order of what you see as a priority and urgency. And don't forget, we all have to do planning training, otherwise you can't sit on the planning committee. I'm going to go to Mr. Wilkinson now.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to Georgina's comments, I think there's something for us as officers to look at with regards to the number and type of courses that there is on their modules, and are they all really compulsory for all members? You know, the point Georgina picks out about climate action, and having done all of them myself, looking for a gold star as well with Miss Councillor Pratt. I can see where some members might look at them and think these haven't got a great deal of relevance to my role, and the sheer number might put them off just starting any of them because of that. So I think as officers, we're going to look at all the modules and determine which ones are really compulsory and which ones are a nice to have, or should some members or officers be focused on certain ones rather than a blanket, all of these are compulsory. I think we need to be a little bit more intelligent and help members in that way. Thank you, Chair.
And I'll let everybody into a secret. Mr. Wilkinson did it over Christmas because he knew it was coming as an agenda item. So, members, no, I'm teasing. He's an excellent sense of humour. Members, I'm going to go to the recommendations found on page 85. Recommendation little 1, that the committee... You didn't want to speak, did you? Did you have your hand up?
I think it's covered, actually, Chair.
You sure?
That's fine, yeah.
That the committee notes the member training statistics and the required list of training courses that all members should have completed. Little 2, that the committee continues to receive a 6-monthly update to this report appended to the balanced scorecard exceptions. Members, I'm going to add a little one on there that Mr. Wilkinson and I send out with the support of the rest of the team, Georgina, Cheryl, what have you, a reminder to members again, an email. If that's okay. Tara, could you make a note of that? And is that all right with you, Georgina, please? Can we make sure we do that when you're ready? If you can let us know. Tara, are you okay with that?
Yes, Chair, of course.
Members, I've added that as amendment. Yes, Councillor Neil.
Can I just make sure that in that communication, members are reminded there's 2 different locations to get this training. It's not just the Boxfish, it's Connect and Learn, just to make it absolutely clear to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, because that was raised because people didn't understand. Did you hear that, Tara, about where you can, and you, Georgina, where you can find it on your laptops? So if we could send maybe a little longer email, that would be helpful. Before I go for members to agree or whatever, I've got 2 more hands that's gone up. Councillor Burwood.
I think it would also be very useful in that message to have the list of the required ones instead of having to go somewhere else to get it.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you for raising that. Councillor Siddle-Norman, did you wish to raise a question? No? No? I thought you had your hand up. Yeah, you can say something. You found it? There you go. No, it's gone off again.
I can never find, I've done the box flow ones, but I can never find the others ever.
Okay.
I've looked and I spent about an hour one day trying to find them all and I couldn't find them, so I gave up.
Councillor Neil will most probably be able to show you. It's an icon. Maddie's showing you, actually, Councillor Thompson. Thank you. Yeah, as long as you've got it now, that's fine. Councillor Burwood.
Direct links to the training on the email as well would be good.
Yeah, I'm sure that Tara and everybody heard that, Georgina. If we could do that, we'd be grateful. Right, members, I'm going to move on now. So the recommendations are, which I've just read out. Did I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder for the recommendations? Councillor Burwood. Members, can we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to any other business, any additional other business, members. I've had none. So I would like to thank members in the room, officers at home, officers in the room. Thank you for your contributions this evening, and I now close the meeting at 9:10. Thank you, members. Drive home safely, and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you very much.